Oh, hey everybody, my name is Nick, and it has been a long time since I've updated anything on this channel. I don't even want to see the last date of my last upload because I'm scared to, but we are all quarantined, there's a virus going around, and I know a lot of people need an escape. And so I figured what I would do is I'd make a video talking about some of my favorite games from the past decade. If there's any that you haven't tried out, I would recommend them. So I'm going to go through each year of the past decade and list off 1 to 5 of my favorite games from that year. A couple of years there are 6 games because those years were just stellar. And a couple of years there are less than 5 because from like 2013 to 2015, I was living in Mexico doing a service mission, and so I didn't really play video games during that time. That being said, let's just jump into it. 2010, my 5 favorite games are Super Meat Boy, Heavy Rain, Black Ops, Halo Reach, and Red Dead Redemption. I think Super Meat Boy is a great 2D platformer. It's very fast-paced, it's very difficult, and very kinetic. It hits all the right points for me. I love 2D platformers, and I love difficult games that are not like unfairly difficult. And so for those reasons, I love Super Meat Boy. Heavy Rain is a great story. It's a more of an interactive movie than it is a game, but I think it's a great game to play once, and it's a great game to go into blind. Halo Reach is my favorite Halo game. It's got a great story, got great multiplayer, and it is part of the Master Chief Collection on Steam, and it is a very active community now. 2011, my 5 favorite games are The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, Batman Arkham City, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, The Elder Scrolls Skyrim, and Portal 2. I think Skyward Sword is a great mid-tier Zelda game. It's not my favorite, but it's not my least favorite. Arkham City is a great superhero game. It's one of the Rocksteady Batman games. I don't think it's as good as Arkham Asylum. I liked how Arkham Asylum felt claustrophobic and scary, and Arkham City just feels kind of open and empty at times. Either way, Arkham City is still a great game. It's got great combat, and it's Batman. Modern Warfare 3 was great in its time as well. It was kind of on the decline of Call of Duty, but I played it with my 2 best friends, and so I had a good time. Skyrim, everybody has played it, but it is just... it's peak RPG. I know it's overrated. I know it's kind of a dead horse that we've been beating for the past almost 10 years, but it's a fun game if you haven't played it, and if you have played it, and then try it with mods. And Portal 2 is my favorite game of 2011. It is such a great puzzle game, and the community around it is really good. If you go on the Steam Workshop, you can download user-created levels, and those, in my opinion, are better than the actual game. They are great head-scratching puzzles, and it's if you like puzzles, then you will like Portal 2, and you will like the user-created levels. For 2012, I only have 4 games listed, but they are all fun games. They are Borderlands 2, Far Cry 3, Dishonored, and Journey. Borderlands 2 and Far Cry 3 are both games in which you play a psychopath with a gun. Borderlands 2 is... the thing about Borderlands is the writing. You kind of feel like they went on to 9gag, saw what was popular at the time, and then tried to cram as many references as possible into it. Some of the jokes stick really well, some of them don't. I think Claptrap is one of my favorite video game characters of all time, and I enjoyed Borderlands for those reasons. Far Cry 3 is probably gameplay-wise the best of the Far Cries. I think every Far Cry game has an incredibly pretentious story, but incredibly fun gameplay. And so you will have fun with this game. Dishonored is a stealth game in which you can choose if you want to be incredibly violent or if you want to be incredibly passive. And it's fun to play the game as both. Like, it's a difficult game to play if you are trying to do the stealthy way. The passive way. but I would recommend trying to play it both ways. It is one of my favorite games of all time, and it's a fantastic game. And Journey, everybody should know what Journey is. It's an indie game in which you play an unnamed character trying to make it to the top of a mountain. It's a very calming game, and for me it's more of an experience, and it was something that I did to calm down if I was going through a difficult time. I haven't played it in years because I sold my PS3 when I got a PS4, and I didn't have it for PS4. 2013, my favorite games are Guacamelee, Grand Theft Auto 5, The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds, and The Last of Us. I think Guacamelee is another terrific indie game. It's a 2D beat-em-up in which you play a luchador, and it takes place in Mexico. I myself am part Mexican. As I mentioned, I lived in Mexico for a couple of years, and those references are really fun. It also is crammed full of references to modern video games and to classic video games. And the game it had me laughing a lot, and it's got some great mechanics, and it's got really fun combat. Grand Theft Auto 5, everybody knows what it is. You're in an open world, you have a car, you can mess around and do whatever you want. The Last of Us is another great story. I think if you've played it before, if you played it at launch, I would recommend playing it again. For me, playing it the second time was better because I paid more attention to the characters, and I paid more attention to the story than I did to the gameplay. I was a little underwhelmed the first time I played it because there wasn't a whole lot of gameplay, but it is an incredible story, and it is very interesting to see the characters and see the choices that they make, and not only that, but the implications that their choices have on the world around them. And A Link Between Worlds is probably my second favorite Zelda game behind A Link to the Past. I enjoyed the heck out of this game, and I mean, it's probably because I really liked A Link to the Past. It's a good top-down adventure game. 2014, my favorite games were Far Cry 4, Mario Kart 8, Duck Game, Super Smash Bros., and Shovel Knight. Far Cry 4 is best enjoyed with a friend. The way I played it is my friend and I, we would find elephants, we would ride the elephants, we would take them to an outpost, and we would trample everybody while gunning them down. I feel like that's the way God intended this game to be played, and I am not one to go against his will. So play it that way if you play it. Mario Kart 8 is Mario Kart 8. Duck Game is a 2D fighting game, kind of similar to Smash Brothers, in which you play ducks. There is a quack button, and you pick up weapons and try to kill each other. Super Smash Bros. 4 is Super Smash Bros. 4. Everybody knows what that game is. It's not the best Super Smash Bros. Game, but it is not the most poorly aged either. Shovel Knight is another 2D indie platformer, and it is the best one. You should play it. It's probably on sale right now. In 2015, I did not play very many games from that year, so the only game that I have listed is Rocket League, a game in which you are in cars and you play soccer. If that doesn't convince you to play the game, then nothing will. 2016, my favorite games are Human Fall Flat, Super Hot, Doom, Dead by Daylight, and Titanfall 2. Human Fall Flat is a ragdoll physics game. It's got terrible controls, but it is so fun. Super Hot is a first-person shooter in which time only passes while you are moving. So if you stay still, everything is frozen, and you can assess the situation and plan your moves accordingly. Doom is a first-person, visceral, fast-paced action game, and it has got the best soundtrack out of almost any video game ever. Dead by Daylight is a 5-player asymmetrical multiplayer horror game in which one person plays a killer and 4 people play survivors. The survivors are trying to repair generators and escape from the arena while the killer is trying to kill them all and hook them. It is a fun game to play either way. I personally prefer Survivor, but I would recommend that if you do play the game, try playing a little bit as both. Titanfall 2 is the best shooter game of all time in my opinion. It is very fast paced, you have a grappling hook, and you can climb in giant robots. It had a really fun multiplayer. I don't know if it is still very active. I haven't played the game in about a year and a half, but it is one of my favorite games of all time, and it has a very special place in my heart. And I highly recommend it to anybody. I'm sure you can get it for about $5 anywhere. 2017, my favorite games are Resident Evil 7, Horizon Zero Dawn, Super Mario Odyssey, Hollow Knight, and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Resident Evil 7, well, Resident Evil 5 was my introduction to Resident Evil, but I don't think it really captured what Resident Evil is about, so I consider Resident Evil 7 my introduction of sorts. It is a first-person survival horror game, and in true Resident Evil fashion, it makes you feel hopeless a lot of the time. Resources are pretty limited. Even the weakest of enemies take forever to kill. And it's spooky. The first-person change, it was an odd choice for Resident Evil, but it was the right choice in my opinion. Horizon Zero Dawn is a third-person open-world game in which you are in the far future, robots have taken over, and humans have resorted to kind of primitive ways. They live in tribes, they worship spirits, and they use bows and spears. And so you play as Aloy, someone who is bridging the gap between this primitive people and technology. It is an incredible world-building job done by Guerrilla Games. I am excited for the sequel, and it is one of my favorite PS4 exclusives. Super Mario Odyssey is a Mario game. Hollow Knight is a 2D indie adventure game in which you play some sort of bug, and it's a really hard game to explain, but there is just an amazing amount of environmental storytelling done by the crew that made Hollow Knight. And it's got very difficult combat. Each boss makes you rethink the way you play the game, and you have to approach each boss differently, and it's a very fun, very difficult, and exciting and rewarding game to play. Breath of the Wild, I know it's kind of viewed as overrated now, but I had so much fun playing it, and I still go back to it. I can't play right now, though, because I loaned it to a friend right before COVID-19 broke out, and my friend is super quarantine boy and refuses to meet up with me to give it back. But it's a fun game. Another game from 2017 that I forgot to write down in my notes is Mario Rabbids. It's kind of like XCOM. It's a strategy game. You position your characters and you shoot other characters. And it's super duper cheap right now. 2018, my favorite games are The Messenger, Marvel's Spider-Man, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Celeste. The Messenger is a 2D indie game that switches between 8-bit and 16-bit graphics. You play as a ninja who can travel between... It's either the past and the present or the present and the future. I think it's the present and the future. You are a time-traveling ninja, and you are trying to save the world. That's really all there is to it. It's a very fun game, and it's got a lot of really funny jokes if you are one of the people who actually reads what characters say. Marvel's Spider-Man is a game that makes you feel like Spider-Man. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is a fighting game. Everybody knows what it is. I don't know why I'm trying to explain it. Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the few games that has actually gotten an emotional reaction out of me. But I am somebody who can be taken by a musical swell and some sentimental moments, so it's not saying much, but it has got some of the best performances I have ever seen in a video game. It does drag on a lot. The story is a little bit long, but to me it helped me because it got me invested in my character, in Arthur Morgan. and I would recommend you play it once as an honorable man, and the second time just blaze through it being the biggest douchebag you can possibly be. Celeste is another one of those games that is one of my favorite games of all time. It is a 2D indie platformer, kind of like Super Meat Boy, but I think it's a little bit slower, but it is just, it's fun to play, and it's got a lot of symbolism to it, and I played it when I was finishing out college. I was really stressed out because I was trying to figure out what I was trying to do with my life, and the game itself is like an allegory for self-doubt, depression, and anxiety, and it helps me out a lot. I think it would help out a lot of people who suffer from those things, but the game is difficult. There is an assist mode that, because the developers wanted anybody who wanted to beat it to let them beat it, whether they wanted to use assist mode or not, and I think it is a game that everybody should play and everybody should pay attention to. 2019, the games that I chose are Jedi Fallen Order, My Friend Pedro, Resident Evil 2, Control, Apex Legends, and Outer Wilds. Jedi Fallen Order, you play a Padawan after Order 66, and you are trying to restore the Jedi Order. A lot of people say it's got kind of Dark Souls-esque combat, and to me that's a good thing because Dark Souls was too hard for me, so this made me feel good. I played it on hard difficulty. I think it's a challenging yet rewarding game to play if you play it on a harder difficulty. I'm a fan of Star Wars. I think it's really cool because they give you the option to choose between a double-bladed lightsaber or a single lightsaber. Single lightsaber has more power behind it, but double-bladed helps you deflect blasters more. That's something that I wish I had known at the beginning, but it's a good Star Wars game, and it's by Respawn. They're the same people that made Titanfall 2 and Apex Legends, and those two are some of my favorite games, and it made me happy to see them branch out and to have success. My Friend Pedro is another awkward, weird game. You are a man possessed by a psychic banana, and you just go from room to room clearing out enemies. It rewards you for fast gameplay, for chained kills, and you can slow down time. You can do these acrobatics. It's fluid if you're good at the game, and it's very choppy if you're not. And I think it's something that it encourages you to try things in different ways, and to just try something over and over. Resident Evil 2, I did not think I would like it as much as I liked it. It is an incredible game. Like I said, I liked Resident Evil 7, and Resident Evil 2 blows that game out of the water. It does a great job, once again, at making you feel hopeless and making the zombies feel invincible. And you get to the point where you are just saying screw it, and rather than shooting the zombies and killing them, you are just kind of running past them because you needed to conserve ammo. I am almost done with it. I'm loving it, and it's making me want to play Resident Evil 3, but I'm probably going to wait till it goes on sale. Control is a game by Remedy. They're the people, I think they worked on Alan Wake, and maybe they did the earlier Max Payne games. I'm not sure. I should have checked before I spoke, but it's a fun game. You play as Jesse. You have psychic powers. You can levitate. You can throw objects with your mind. It kind of feels like the Matrix, but you have the Force, and you are against like zombies, kind of, but from another dimension. It's a very strange game, but it is a very fun game. It is one of my favorite games of 2019. Apex Legends, the best way to describe it is it's kind of like if there was an Overwatch Battle Royale set in the Titanfall universe. Each character has their own abilities and their own like roles to play in a team, and it's the most fun I've had in a battle royale. I think the only thing that The only battle royale that has come close to me in terms of enjoyment is Call of Duty Warzone, but even still, Apex blows it out of the water. It's once again fast paced, and if you do play it, main Pathfinder, he's the best character. And my favorite game of 2019 was Outer Wilds, which it is just such a good game. You are playing and you are an adventurer, an astronaut in a dying universe, and you are trying to figure out why the sun is exploding every 22 minutes. So the sun will explode after 22 minutes, and then like Groundhog Day, you will be reset to the beginning of that day. So you're trying to figure out why it's doing that, and then if you can, you are trying to stop it. The game does a good job at making you feel hopeless, and it gave me a bunch of existential dread, but it also is about kind of overcoming those feelings. It's about letting you know that even though you're in a huge universe and the universe doesn't really care whether you're alive or not, it kind of helps you find comfort in that rather than fear in that. And I think a game that can help you learn something like that is a good game in my book. You all should play Outer Wilds and then let me know how it is. So anyway, those are my favorite games of the past decade. I want to hear your thoughts. I will be replying to comments in the comment section. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope you guys are staying healthy. And I will hopefully catch you guys later. See ya.